All right, y'all. Mic check is Shantae Arnett. You've officially tuned into a POC POV, the discussion series where we talk about the Black experience, my journey within it, and my perspective on it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by and giving me a little bit of your time. If you could, please like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell and do all the things that your favorite YouTubers tell you to do in their videos. If you're returning to my channel, hey girl, welcome back. Thank you so much for returning and giving me a little bit more of your time. Today we're going to be talking about, I know there's a weird glare coming from behind me, but it gives this little like foggy type of filter to the video. So I'm just gonna roll with it because I kind of like it. It almost looks sunsetty, but whatever. Today we're gonna be talking about colorism. And I feel like I don't necessarily have a reason to do this episode. I just want to talk about it because it's something that's prevalent in the community and it's something that's still being talked about to this day, from, school days all the way down to basketball wives. Colorism is a prevalent topic, and I think that the conversation needs to continue to be had, so here I am to have it. Colorism is long rooted in our community and in this country, and there is a lot of things that colorism stems from, and I'm gonna kind of give you the definition of colorism, and then I'm gonna try to give some personal feelings on it, talk about it, and I actually have a lot of links that I'm going to put in the description box to back up some of the things that I'm saying, because there are some things that I said on here that, a lot of these things that I say on my channel are just common knowledge and it's common sense, and you think that everybody knows it. And sometimes you realize that you're actually giving somebody a piece of information for the first time. So I found it kind of important to give some historical context to the things that I was saying, because I feel like to the average person looking in, I would be saying some things that some people may have no actual idea are real things and may take them as just my opinions. So I have some articles to back up some of the things that I'm talking about, and I'm gonna link them in the description box. But colorism is defined as the segregation in the African American community that is based in the belief that a closer proximity to whiteness equates to a higher social status within the Black community and America as a whole. This whole light skin versus dark skin thing, it's one of those things where the racism that has plagued this country and the racism that has plagued the Black community has now trickled down into an internal division between our own people based on some superficial rules or a ladder to the top that doesn't actually exist, that we are all trying to climb at the same time. Do you know what I mean? It's a social construct that is subliminally implied, or that was subliminally implied by slave masters with actions that created... I'm sorry, I just got distracted in my point. Colorism is a social construct subliminally implied by slave masters with actions that created internal division within the Black community, with roots back to slavery days, the whole light skin black people were in the house and dark-skinned black people were in the fields, down to the narratives that Jim Crow blacks trying to pass. You know what I'm saying? Like, it went from slave masters telling us that the light-skinned ones were better because they were in the house and the darker-skinned ones were worse because they were outside in the field. Down to Jim Crow era when we were separated, equal but separated. Okay. There was this whole phenomenon of light-skinned black people trying to pass became a really big prevalent thing. And the movie Imitation of Life is a great example of the effects of colorism on black people. It is a movie about a black woman who has a light-skinned daughter, and she is really prominently light-skinned, and her mother is relatively dark-skinned. And she grows up hating her blackness, and she tries to pass, and she realizes that you can't. And it's a long movie, but it's a long movie and a sordid story, but it's a great picture to see. I also want to speaking of passing, I want to try to relate this to a broader audience. For the people who don't understand light-skinned white people, or light-skinned black people trying to pass as white, I want to kind of almost equate that to, you know what, not even black people trying to pass as white, but the idea of the ability to pass and the prejudice that comes with that. I liken that to trans women and the obsession with the ability to pass and the hierarchy that subconsciously establishes itself within the community based on the ability to pass. I think that it's something that is really sad, and I think it's something that we as a community need to unify to address, because we are all black. We all black. We all black. We all black. Okay? I'm just gonna get right into it because, let me see. Okay. I'm gonna start, I've already explained to you guys with because I'm giving you like examples of colorism, and I want to kind of dive deeper into them. I already gave you the slavery example of light-skinned slaves being in the house and dark-skinned slaves being in the fields. Watch the movie Imitation of Life, and you'll see black people in the Jim Crow era and how important passing was. But another trickle-down effect of racism within the country, which is a direct effect of colorism, it's like a structured form of colorism, is the brown paper bag test. It's something that you don't hear much about, but it's something that you hear about in like, as far as like, this is what they used to do, but it's something that's still prevalent in today's society. It's just not paper bag test anymore. It's now called preference. And some people take the word preference to an extreme and they use it as a way to be colorist to their own people and disguise it as, oh, this is just what I like. It's like, no. If you just liked that, you wouldn't have negative feelings about the thing that you don't like more. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if I had a preference to light-skinned men, I wouldn't shade dark-skinned men, or I wouldn't have an issue with dark-skinned men or think that dark-skinned men were less than. I just like light-skinned men. Do you know what I'm saying? But where the colorism comes in is where you say it's a preference, but you demean, disrespect, or disregard the person you are not choosing as your preference. But the paper bag test, back to the paper bag test. Some of you may remember the brown paper bag test being brought into mainstream society as a prevalent thing back a year or two ago. Some of my fellow millennials and Generation Zers will know what I'm talking about. When Hazel E's ignorant ass got on Instagram and made all those posts, or got on Twitter or Instagram or both probably, and made all those ignorant ass posts about dark-skinned women coming for her light-skinned pretty ass and this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. You monkey-looking dark butts and this, that, and the third, blah, blah, blah. The paper bag test was kind of implicated in that, and it was brought up and spoken about within the context of that melee. And so I want to just kind of put out there like what it is, give some examples of it, or rather give, you know, some kind of history of it, and call for ways that I feel like we can obliterate this type of thinking. So by definition, the brown paper bag test is an African-American oral history used as a form of racial discrimination practiced within the African-American community by comparing individuals' skin tone to the color of a paper bag, right? If I had a brown, I wish I would have thought about this, I would have gotten a brown paper bag. But if you think about the color of a brown paper bag, right? And they say that if you are lighter than this brown paper bag, then you're cool and you can get in. If you're darker than this brown paper bag, then you're not allowed and you're too dark to be in these places. Mind you, this is during Jim Crow segregation, when Black people were already segregated from general society. Now, dark-skinned people are being segregated from their own Black folk, okay? Some examples. This was used by Greek organizations, sororities, and fraternities, some churches in the Black community, even clubs, like nightclubs. If you were too dark, you couldn't get in the club. If you was light-skinned and you was in, like shit like that, to where racism has done such a mental number on the Black community that it is inherently taught us to hate ourselves and hate our own, keeping us down in this country. Like, I'm all about acknowledging the prejudices and the injustices that have kept our people back, but I'm also all about holding accountable the people who, holding accountable us as a community, and calling the things that we could be doing better, calling the things that we could be doing as a community to unify, whether or not the greater society sees us or not. At some point, we have to come together within ourselves before we can ever stand united against the greater evil, I guess. I'm not trying to make this sound like a Marvel movie, but like, we have to come together as a community before we can unify to do anything to help anybody else. Do you know what I'm saying? The paper bag test makes me think of an example in film to show more of an aesthetically pleasing example of colorism on display. Pleasing may be a strong word, but for lack of a better term, aesthetically pleasing. It's something that's easy to watch, that is a perfect example of what colorism is. Watch the movie School Days with Tisha Campbell. Yeah, watch School Days, because School Days is one of those movies that directly plays into colorism within the Black community in a, I believe it is a collegiate campus. I believe it's a college campus. I believe they're college kids trying to get into a sorority, and they have the light-skinned sorority and the dark-skinned sorority. Perfect example of colorism in a good-ass movie. Um, I feel like we have wasted so much time trying to establish hierarchy within our own communities instead of recognizing the stupidity in the division and coming together as a race. I feel that we spent so much time feeling like we'll never be a part of white America. We'll never fit into the white man's America. So the least we can do is be top dog in our own black corner of America. And reinforcing stereotypes of colorism has done nothing but further divide us. I feel like if we spent the amount of effort that we put into putting people down for being dark skinned or putting down people for being light skinned, because it goes both ways. Colorism works in both ways. There are people who get shaded and disrespected for being dark skinned, and there are people who get shaded and disrespected for being light skinned. You've heard the stories all over. But I feel like instead of putting energy toward that, I feel like we should be putting the energy toward unifying as a community so that we can unite the country as a whole. Because, like I keep saying, at the end of the day, we all are black. Okay? Like, no matter what way you turn it, no matter how much whiteness you put on, no matter how much of cool nude black opal concealer or a foundation you put on, we are all black. I don't care what shade of Fenty foundation you have on. Like, at the end of the day, black people are considered a threat to this country. I don't care what shade of Fenty foundation you have on. And my Whoopi from Ghost Voice, you may still be in danger, girl. Okay? Don't think that just because you light skinned, you automatically in, and that you're not gonna suffer from racism from white people in this country. Because when you get pulled over, baby, they gonna recognize even the tiniest amount of melanin within your skin, okay? So I need us all to stop dividing our own. Like, at the end of the day, what is the dark-skinned girl coming after the light-skinned girl gonna do? What is the light-skinned girl going after the dark-skinned girl gonna do? Because at the end of the day, y'all both are just gonna be looked at as two ignorant niggas by white people. So instead of doing that, why don't you come together as a community and show all 50,000 shades of how beautiful we are and how every one of these 50,000 shades embraces each other. I get that when we say things like that, it comes off as this fantasy world or this dream that can never happen, but it takes one person at a time. It takes one person at a time, two people at a time. And we can just go around and touch the people within our own communities and let them know, hey, I love you, I see you. We're here together. We're in this country together and we all fighting the fight together. That's it. The point of this video was really just for me to just wax about how stupid fucking colorism is. You know what I'm saying? And that colorism is a product of racism. So I don't understand how our people can sit here and get mad at white people for being racist, but not get mad at our own for being colorist. Or rather, not even not get mad at, because in recent times, we've seen a lot of people being called out that live within our community but don't necessarily live within the black experience, but try to effect colorist stereotypes on us. I think that what needs to happen is that I lost my point, but I think that what needs to happen is we need to just stop bullshitting and come together, because it's like, I don't understand what is the point of fighting with our own when we have a bigger fight that we're all a part of anyway. Like, It just doesn't make sense. Colorism is a fucking it's just idiotic. The fact that black people cannot take a step back. I just remembered what my point was. The fact that black people cannot take a step back and realize what they're doing and how they come off to their own is something that we need to address, and it's something that we need to handle within our own community, because we can sit here and analyze every breath that a white person takes until we see racism, but we will ignore our own actions that enforce the colorist stereotypes that we were inherently taught. Do you know what I mean? Because, yeah, you say, because people can say things like, it's a joke, or jokes is jokes, and this and the third, but at the end of the day, what people need to realize is intention is nowhere near as important as impact. So you could mean something as a joke, you could go into something with the best intentions, but if somebody takes that a certain type of way, they're gonna take it a certain type of way no matter how you meant it. So at the end of the day, we need to be more self-aware of what we're doing, and also we need to be just as aware of ourselves as we are of white people around us. We need to make sure that we are presenting ourselves in the best possible light to each other and to the greater world, so that we give no reason for prejudice to take place. And I'm not saying that we have to live our best lives so that white people won't look at us crazy. It's not even that. We should be living in our best selves, for our community, for our families. But you can't, just like they say on reality shows, you can't edit something that you don't give, right? So if I don't say something on camera, you can't edit it to look like something else. Well, if I don't give you stereotypical behavior, then if I don't give you negative stereotypical behavior, let me be very specific. If I don't give you negative stereotypical behavior to criticize or make assumptions about, then there's nothing for you to criticize or make assumptions about. Do you understand? People will always reach and grasp at straws for anything, but nothing will be impactful if it isn't true. So with that being said, I want to wrap up, and I want to call for colorism experiences. I want y'all to drop down in the comments. I want y'all to get in my inbox. I want y'all to hit up my pages, and I want you to tell me about examples of colorism that you've seen, examples of colorism that you've experienced. I want to talk to you guys about how you feel about colorism. How has it affected you? How have you seen it affect other people? Do you have examples in your own life that are examples of the paper bag test being used in modern day society? I want to hear all of that. I want to make it a conversation, and I want to talk to all of you guys. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching. A POC POV comes out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and In My Queer View comes out on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I'm going to be dropping essays with essay whenever I just have something on my heart to talk about. So yeah, drop down, get at me, Shantae Arnett on all social media. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Once again, if you're new, thank you so much for stopping by and giving me a little bit of your time. If you're returning, hey girl, welcome back. And thank you for returning. I'm getting ready to clock out and go on my break, but I may be back today. I may not. I may be back tomorrow. Who knows how I'm feeling. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Black people stick together. Damn it. That's it. Like, out of all the inspirational words I can say, Black people stick together. Damn it. Peace.